What is good, everybody, and welcome back to the mock draft, specifically the 2024 mock draft. And we haven't done one of these in a minute. We haven't done one of these since the way too early mock drafts that went pretty well. I think you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoy this one because we do have a bit of a mix-up in terms of who's going to be the top picks in this draft. I mean, the Bears were supposed to have the top 2 at one point. Now they dropped to the 5 with theirs. The Arizona Cardinals have dropped to the 4th pick. So it's been a bit of a change since the last time. We weren't expecting the Giants to be as bad as they were. Same thing with the Patriots. I mean, I think I was talking about maybe the Patriots trading up. I might have that happen today, possibly. Not 100% sure with how Bill Belichick likes to run his things. He usually just likes to stick and pick. If they keep Bill Belichick, I mean, they quietly re-signed him to a new deal. So I don't know why they quietly did it. Maybe they didn't have a lot of confidence in it. But we are going to be heading into this with the Bears having the first overall pick. And it's a tough one. That's a tough one because Justin Fields is coming up on the last year of his contract. You really have to debate if he's going to be your future. Caleb Williams has a lot more potential, I would say. Justin Fields is basically like another Caleb Williams, just not as hyped up, in my opinion. With the way that I watch Caleb Williams, I see a lot of the same. I think Caleb Williams is a lot more accurate, is a better QB overall. Justin Fields is a bit more of a project QB who could go to another system and possibly have a better outcome. I would want to trade this pick if I'm the Bears. I think that they will. In reality, I might not do it in this mock draft. I might do it in the next if I really feel like it's right. I honestly think the Giants are probably going to have the first overall pick with how their team has been shaping up to be and the injuries that have piled up. I think that they're going to be drafting a QB regardless. But the Bears, I think I'm going to have them taking Caleb Williams, which is going to be difficult for the Patriots and the Giants because the Giants, I'm just going to go with it. I'm going to go with it. A very, very good prospect. I could see the Bears just taking him, figuring out something else with Justin Fields, getting him into another situation that he could probably prosper in. We saw how the coaching was able to do things with the backup QB. I'm blanking on his name right now, but I know his last name starts with a B, if I'm not mistaken. But the Chicago situation just needs a better QB. I think DJ Moore's a good wide receiver 1 for Caleb Williams. The defense needs motivation in terms of just the offense doing something. They also need a defensive line. But we'll get into that probably at the 5th overall pick. But the Giants are at the 2nd overall pick. Now, if I am a team at the 2nd overall pick, I'm taking Marvin Harrison hands down. One of the best wide receiver prospects that we've seen since Calvin Johnson, really, in reality. Hell of a route runner, hell of a catcher, can get his toes in. A great toe dragger in that situation. I think he's really helped Ohio State a lot this season in college because they don't necessarily have, as far as I know, I don't recognize the QB's name as much as I usually do with the Ohio State quarterbacks like CJ Stroud, Justin Fields, those type of people. But Marvin Harrison is making them look good right now. But Drake May is a great QB to implement into your team, and he'll figure it out, and he'll be able to do basically about everything you want him to do. I think the Giants were expecting Daniel, I don't know why, but I think they're expecting Daniel Jones to be what Drake May is probably going to be for them. And I think they will go with Drake May, although they probably need to focus on the tackle situation. Fashanu, I said that wrong the first time. Fashanu looks good in Penn State. So does Joe Alt. Not as good as what everybody thought he was going to be, probably. But I think they go with Drake May. I don't think they just sit around and wait for Daniel Jones to figure it out. I don't know why they paid him the money that they did. I don't know. We're going to have to see about that. But Drake May, I think, would be the right choice for the Giants to take. Now, that puts the Patriots in a sticky situation because Marvin Harrison is still on the board. You don't know what to go with because you basically need everything. I mean, Mac Jones, I really think that he can figure it out if he has an offensive line. I think that's what makes him stand out, because Alabama had a pretty good offensive line whenever he was the QB, and they figured it out. But he also doesn't have a weapon. He doesn't have somebody that he can just throw it up to and he gets it. Marvin Harrison is that. But knowing Bill Belichick at the 3rd overall pick, if he's still the head coach, I feel like he's going to take Fashanu from Penn State, because they do need line. They do need offensive line. They have a pretty good one right now. Not a pretty good one. They don't have a pretty good one right now. They just need more help. They need a lot more help. I was confusing them with another team, but I think the Patriots do go Fashanu. I think they do. I really find it hard to believe that Bill Belichick is going to go any other route if the top 2 QBs get taken off the board, because then the next QB on the board is Bo Nix and Michael Penix, which Michael Penix looks great, but I don't think that he's going to translate to the NFL. The Cardinals, this is a good situation for Marvin Harrison, possibly, because putting him on the Cardinals with Kyler Murray, Trey McBride, who has basically is breaking out as a tight end or one of the bright tight ends of the future, I think it would be difficult for the Bears to just watch Marvin Harrison go, but I don't think the Cardinals are going to budge on it if they see Marvin Harrison fall to them. So I'm going to have Marvin Harrison go to the Cardinals at the 4th overall pick. Then you have the Bears at the 5th, who have Cole Kmet at tight end, so not necessarily something that they're worried about. They should be worried about the defense. They got Montez Sweat in the trade. They could use Kool-Aid McKinstry. I think the Bears could go in many different scenarios. I mean, Jazir Newton or Jazon Newton. I don't know why I keep mispronouncing names, but Jazon Newton from Illinois. They need a defensive interior or defensive tackle. I mean, their line has been pretty solid. I don't think that's a need in terms of drafting a 5th overall pick tackle. Cornerback, Kool-Aid McKinstry would be great too. I just don't know if they're going to trade down that much. I don't know who would trade up necessarily. Because, what teams would need like a Brock Bowers or... I don't see Latu. I don't see Latu going to the Bears. I think he's old. I think they're trying to get a much younger crowd, especially if they go the route of Caleb Williams. I don't think they're going to be focused on trying to get somebody that's experienced and implement him immediately. I was heavily considering Brock Bowers just going to the Bears. I still don't see it, though, because they just re-signed Cole Kmet to a 4-year deal. A tackle wouldn't hurt. Maybe I do go Joe Alt. Maybe I do go offensive line. Put him on the other side of Darnell Wright. Just figure out the tackles for the future. They do need a center. Maybe. But it's not right now. It's not something that they're going to figure out right now. You know, I guess I'm just going to bite the bullet on Latu. Sorry, I'm bouncing all over the place for the Bears, but they're so unpredictable sometimes. Like, I really wasn't expecting them to trade out of the first pick. Maybe towards the draft, yes, but I don't know. I thought that they were going to stick and pick maybe, but they got a haul for that first overall pick, and I could see them trying to do the same thing again this year if they get the first overall pick with how bad the Panthers have been. But I guess Latu would make sense. He's a great edge out of UCLA. From what I've seen, he's been good. I prefer Jared Verse in a way, but I'm going to go Latu. I'm going to go Latu for the Bears. Maybe they see something that I don't. But now going on to the Green Bay Packers, who don't need a QB. I think Jordan Love still needs some time. Tackle, defensive interior, safety. This is where I could see Newton, but Malik Neighbors could also help Jordan Love a lot, and that would kind of change the way that they've been going about things in Green Bay with not drafting offensive talent in the first round. Now, they could try to go safety. Cameron Kinchins, bit of a later pick. You don't really go safety this high in the drafts unless they're pivotal and amazing. I think Cameron Kinchens has been great, but I don't know if he's a 6 overall pick great. Newton looks good for them. I think they could use him heavily. Joe Alt, that might be where I go with. The line has been struggling for Green Bay. Joe Alt going to Green Bay, helping out that line and helping out Jordan Love specifically. The Rams, who Matthew Stafford was playing great for at one point, got injured. Didn't help him a lot. Offensive line, defensive line, linebacker, defensive back. Could they go Brock Bowers? Maybe. And maybe not. Because they have Tyler Higbee, although not amazing. It's almost like the Bills. I wasn't expecting the Bills to take Dalton Kincaid because they had Dawson Knox. I said it a lot going into that draft, but they ended up taking Dalton Kincaid. So it's unpredictable. It is unpredictable. I think the Rams might reach a little bit. I don't think they go wide receiver. Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, both doing very well. QB, I mean, it's just way too early to possibly get the QB of the future for yourself. I think you can wait, probably get like a Shedeur Sanders, even though supposedly he's not going to be coming into this draft, according to Deion Sanders. I like Jared Verse to the Rams. I also like Kool-Aid McKinstry to the Rams. I could see this being a reach in some way, but Kool-Aid going to the Rams would make a lot of sense for the future. I'm going to have Kool-Aid going there. Just a great cornerback prospect out of Alabama. Had a lot of hype going into this season. Has played well still. Not as great as what you expected him to, but all of Alabama has been like that. So it's nor here or there. But the Titans, easy pick for me, Brock Bowers. Just because the tight end position has never been like a position of focus on their team. And now with Will Levis possibly being their franchise quarterback of the future, they need to start building around him. They already have somebody like Treylon Burks at wide receiver. I don't think they go wide receiver at the 8th spot. The tight end position is a bit uncertain in Tennessee. I think they go Brock Bowers. I mean, he's one of the best tight end prospects we've seen ever. He did get injured, but he looked tremendous before that. We're going to have him going to Tennessee. The Falcons have been a question mark. And this is one of the teams that I would have had possibly trading up to that first overall pick to get Caleb Williams. Maybe like a Drake Love and just a bunch of picks in the future years. Keep adding to that haul that the Chicago Bears will continue to get from those first overall picks. But they might focus on defense for this top pick. I wouldn't put it past them to just draft another wide receiver for no apparent reason. I mean, I think they just have too many weapons. They have too many cooks in the kitchen right now. And Arthur Smith clearly can't figure out how to season anything up to be able to win games, because he never uses Bijan and he never uses Kyle Pitts, and those are his two best players on offense. So he likes to say that he's using them as a decoy in some way, but that doesn't make any sense at all to me. But Chop Robinson, an edge, Jared Verse, I could also see. They've needed help on the edge for a while now. I could see Jared Verse going to the Falcons. Yeah, I think I'll go Chop Robinson from Penn State. He's looked pretty good this year. Not probably as good as last year. But overall, he's a great pass rusher, and hopefully he can fit into that Falcons defense, who need a lot of help. I don't know if the cornerback room needs as much help as what it's saying right now. But I have Chop Robinson going to the Atlanta Falcons. And the Washington Commanders, who made 2 trades in terms of getting rid of their defensive line, with Montez Sweat going to the Bears and Chase Young going to the 49ers for what seems to be a steal. But the Commanders didn't want to pay them, so they're trying to keep it young, I guess. I don't really understand the logic behind it necessarily, but we're just going to have to build off of what they've already done. Tight end, offensive line, edge, linebacker, cornerback. I think I will go line here with Fuaga going to the Commanders. They just need desperate help on that line, to be honest with you. But the Bucks need just about everything coming up this season. I mean, Baker Mayfield is not the solution, as I was trying to say before. They did have the Bucks being a little higher in the drafting process. I could see it still happening. I mean, they still fight in some games, but I think they'll ultimately lose most of the time. Cornerback, you just have to draft at value here. I don't think they re-sign Mike Evans, but I also don't think they draft wide receiver like Malik Neighbors, although he has already dropped a lot. I don't think they need the defensive interior. They don't need a wide receiver. Jared Verse would be great in Tampa. We just might go with that. Jared Verse going from Florida State to Tampa. Not the first time that the Buccaneers draft a Florida player. They drafted a University of Florida player, but also FSU with Jameis Winston. We're going to have Jared Verse going to the Bucks. And the Jets are now on the clock. And I could see Malik Neighbors going here. I think he'd complement Garrett Wilson a lot. But with Newton already falling this far, I could also see that being the route. I don't see a lot of tackles that could really stand out for the Jets to take. J.C. Latham, yeah. But I think they would rather take one of these higher players with the wide receiver or defensive interior. I find it hard to believe that they'll probably go wide receiver. I don't think they will. Although it might be a good choice for the opposite side of Garrett Wilson. Newton would be great for that defensive line. And I think the identity of the Jets is their defense, even when Aaron Rodgers comes back. Aaron Rodgers can figure it out with basically any wide receiver, especially if he has a wide receiver one like Garrett Wilson. So we'll go ahead and go with Jerzon Newton out of Illinois. And here are the Broncos, where they possibly are moving on from Jerry Jeudy. So another wide receiver that can route run but also be fast, like Malik Neighbors. I could see a Malik Neighbors to the Denver Broncos draft pick. Now, I think the Chargers would hope for him to drop with how their wide receiver room keeps getting older and older. They do have Quentin Johnson, who they've been involving more, but I think I don't think they go line. Edge, yeah. They let Randy Gregory go, but that defense has started performing now. Cornerback wouldn't be bad with Nate Wiggins. Yeah, I might just go Malik Neighbors here. I mean, the only other team that I probably would have seen him going to was the Titans. But we had Brock Bowers going there. I don't think they needed Malik Neighbors. He already has fallen this far. Out of LSU going to Denver, Colorado. Malik Neighbors to go alongside Cortland Sutton, possibly. I don't think Jerry Jeudy's going to be there much longer. I don't think the Chargers go back-to-back drafts with wide receiver. That wouldn't be smart, in my opinion. Nate Wiggins might be the way they go. I mean, I'm sure they would have loved Brock Bowers dropping to the 14th spot, but that's not what's happening in this universe. Emeka Egbuka could be very good, but I don't know if the Chargers are going to be the one to take that risk, since they already have a pretty good wide receiver room. They have other things to worry about, like the cornerback situation. Yeah, I think they do go with Nate Wiggins out of Clemson. Pretty good in coverage, not the best at the run defense, but you just need help at cornerback. Asante Samuel's great, but where's everybody else? They just traded J.C. Jackson back to the Patriots. Yeah, Nate Wiggins going to the Chargers, helping that cornerback room. Now, the Colts, I could see possibly a Rome, a Dunze, Keon Coleman, Emeka Egbuka. I like Emeka. I do like Emeka. I think that he could help that room a lot with Josh Downs and Michael Pittman. I don't know if they re-sign Michael Pittman or if they have to re-sign him. We'll have to see, but I think Emeka is a good high risk but high reward type of wide receiver. I might go Keon Coleman. He's the type of wide receiver that he can basically go get it. And I don't think they really have anybody like that right now. I don't know if they're going to be keeping Michael Pittman. Josh Downs, they're going to keep. Anthony Richardson is going to be coming back swinging next year, I'm sure. And Keon Coleman to help with that could be good. They could also go defensive interior, but I think they're going to worry about building around Anthony Richardson. I think that defense is solid right now as is if they just keep it the way that it is. Keon Coleman, 6'4", going to Indianapolis. Another Florida State player going in the first round. About 5 picks after Jared Verse. The Raiders need a QB. I think it's time for them to figure it out in terms of moving on from whatever they have going on. Now, it's difficult what QB they would go with. I don't know why Jordan Travis is so low. Maybe he stays another year. I don't know if that's why. Bo Nix would be good, but he is really old. Like, he has been in college for a long time. Michael Penix, I wouldn't see them taking. I don't know, but knowing the Raiders, they might just want somebody that is experienced and has been around for a while in terms of playing football at a high level. And Bo Nix just might be that. He would feed Devontae Adams. He would most definitely feed Devontae Adams as much as he can. I think with the staff that they have right now, they would probably pick a QB to move on from what they have going. Aiden McConnell is not going to be the solution for the future. Jimmy Garoppolo is definitely not going to be the solution for the future. So Bo Nix going to the Las Vegas Raiders. And now the Buffalo Bills are on the clock, who I think personally should move on from Von Miller, not helping them in any scenario possible. I think they would have liked Kool-Aid McKinstry to drop to them, but that is not happening here because he went to the 7th pick, and they were probably not going to trade up to that. Wide receiver might be a situation they go with. I don't know if they have the money to re-sign Gabe Davis. They could also go safety to become a younger defense in that scenario because Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, both very good safeties, but they're only getting older. Tackle also wouldn't be bad, like J.C. Latham. There's just so many things that they could improve on right now with their 5-5 record. I think they start trying to build around Josh Allen and not worry about the other positions so much because the issue is sometimes that Josh Allen doesn't have enough time to get the ball off with patience in some sort of like a Tom Brady circumstance because they really put the offensive line in front of him and figured it out from there with everything else. And I think the Bills might go that route, especially if they move on from Sean McDermott. J.C. Latham would be a good start to that because the tackles have always been uncertain for them, although Deion Dawkins has been great. The other side has not. So I think they're going to put J.C. Latham on the other side of Deion Dawkins and have that offensive line set. If they stay at that 17th overall pick, that's the if right there. But the Bengals, tight end tackle, defensive interior, could see Leonard Taylor going here. I don't see much else going to the Bengals. Very good in the pass rush for Leonard Taylor, and that's what they really need in terms of that interior. Because it seems like the other team always has too much time to get the ball off. They could also go Barton. That line still seems to be an issue no matter how many times they try to sign offensive linemen to the team. But I think they go Leonard Taylor. Leonard Taylor to the Bengals out of UM. Now the Saints are on the clock, who need to move on from their offensive line currently. Seems like they're struggling more and more as the years go by. Defensive line in general would be great for them too. Dallas Turner, I could definitely see going to the Saints to kind of move on from the Cameron Jordan era and that defensive line as well. I think both lines have always been good, but they're only aging more and more. It's almost like the Bills with their defense. Yeah, I have Dallas Turner out of Alabama going to the New Orleans Saints. Again, another very good pass rusher. Yeah, Dallas Turner going to the Saints. The Cardinals with the Houston pick. They got Marvin Harrison at the 4th overall pick. They could go offensive line. I don't think they go QB. They could go defensive line. There's a lot of options for them. There is a lot of options for them. But I think they will go with that offensive line. Although it has had its good moments, they need to have more consistency from it. Yeah, I think they figure out the other side of the ball, opposite of Paris Johnson Jr., and put Graham Barton there. Just helping out Kyler Murray more and more. It seems like they're going to stick with him with this win that they had this last week. Yeah. Graham Barton to the Cardinals. Vikings QB. I really could see them going with QB. I can't imagine Kirk Cousins is going to be staying there. I don't know how they feel about Josh Dobbs. He's been playing great so far. Now, is he your future? I don't know. I would love for him to be the Minnesota Vikings future. He's been through a good deal trying to be a QB in the NFL. But you got to have a young option as well. Michael Penix could be that option. I think it is time for them to move on. But I don't know with who. Yeah. To take one of these Washington players off the board, I think Michael Penix Jr. is going to be going to the Vikings. I can't imagine Josh Dobbs is their future plans. And I can't imagine that Kirk Cousins is also in their future plans with the Achilles injury that he just got. So, Michael Penix going to the Vikings, I think that would be great for their future, especially if they re-sign Justin Jefferson. It doesn't look too hot right now for that, but that's not a topic for today. Dallas Cowboys, running back, I don't think is a need. I just think they don't utilize Tony Pollard as they should. Although he hasn't had the breakout season that a lot of people were expecting after being so good with Ezekiel Elliott in that backfield last year. Center could also be a situation, but there's just not a lot of good ones in this draft. Yeah, just not a good enough one for them to get it this early in the first round. It looks like we have another Quentin Johnson on our hands with Rome over here from Washington. I'm just uncertain about him, to be quite honest with you. He'll probably go to the Texans. The Texans need that type of talent in a way, just to have somebody for CJ Stroud. Defensive interior, linebacker, cornerback. Cooper DeJean I could definitely see going to the Cowboys. That just might be what I go with out of Iowa. Great with the pass and the run. I could definitely see Cooper DeJean going to the Cowboys. They need some help in that cornerback room. And as much as there's some very tempting prospects up here, I think Cooper is going to be going to the Cowboys. The Steelers with center, linebacker, defensive back. Cameron Kinchins. Yeah, I think they go Cameron Kitchens to put alongside Minka. I think they do go with this guy because he is one of the best safeties in college right now. I mean, he goes to UM, and that's my favorite college team. Cameron Kinchins would be great to add to that Steelers defense. I mean, it's already lethal as is. There's not a lot of linebackers. Yeah, Cameron Kinchins to the Steelers. The Texans, Rome, not very hard. A decently sized wide receiver. I think he can help CJ Stroud a lot. Tank Dell seems to be like the speedy route runner type. And Rome should be able to complement Tank Dell as much as possible. But now the Dolphins at the 25th pick, who last year got their pick forfeited. Tight end and offensive line. What would be a crazy trade and probably won't happen would be the Dolphins trading up to get Brock Bowers if he somehow falls out of the top like 5 or so, or maybe even top 10. They would try to probably trade up. I could see them trying to push for a tight end but they do need offensive line. And Amarius Mims has been pretty consistent over the last 3 years. Very good in the pass blocking, run blocking, he's pretty good too, but I think they just need help on the tackle situation in general. On the opposite side of Teron Armstead too, I think Teron is still going to be good, although he does have his injury concerns basically every year. I think Amarius Mims is going to be drafted by the Dolphins. Now moving on to the Seahawks. We need a guard, center, or edge. Braylon Trice could be the one for them. Yeah, and I think that just might be the pick for them because they just traded for Leonard Williams, who is the defensive interior. Braylon Trice could help on that edge. Great in the pass rush. Basically works out just fine with that ADP too, but I do think that this is what they go with. There's not a lot of options in terms of the offensive line in this round specifically. I'm sure that they'll focus on that in the future rounds. But in this one, Braylon Trice will be going to Seattle. I think Washington plays in Washington State, so he's not going very far. Braylon Trice going to the Seahawks. Now the Jaguars are on the board at the 27th overall pick, who I could see Kalen King going to. I could also see a safety like Tyler Nubin going there. Yeah, I can't really see much else from Tyler Nubin going to the Jaguars. Has been great this year. Has been really good in coverage. I don't think they go defensive line. I think they get that safety and Tyler Nubin that help that backfield as much as possible. Their cornerback room has been doing great. But now moving on to the 49ers. Offensive line and cornerback. Not a lot of needs for them. Kalen King will just keep helping them. Kalen King hasn't been super tremendous this year after last season that he had. I think they still take a chance because they're able to. Yeah, I'm going to have Kalen King going to the 49ers. I'm sure that they can figure out what to do with Kalen King in that defense. The Ravens could use wide receiver, but they have Zay Flowers, who was a great pick last year. Defensive line, cornerback. I could see JT going there. I do like JT a lot out of Ohio State. Could learn a lot from that Ravens defensive line. Another good pass rusher, but just good on both sides, really. I'm going to have JT going to the Ravens. On that edge. Detroit. Not a lot of options to help with them this year. I think they also just go cornerback. I can't see many other options. And I think they'll go with Terrion Arnold, who's been on the opposite side of Kool-Aid McKinstry, who's still been performing very consistently and very well in that Alabama defense, although they haven't been performing great. I'm going to have Terrion going to the Lions. And the Chiefs, who need a wide receiver and defensive line, most definitely am going to have them going Emeka after last season. They went with defensive line. Hasn't really helped as much as they thought, but we're going to have Emeka going to the Chiefs. That'll be great for them, and also Emeka because he can play with such a QB like Patrick Mahomes. And the Eagles, I don't think they would need wide receiver as bad as they think they do. And I think the Eagles might just bite the bullet on Josh Newton. Although he hasn't performed very well this season, I honestly don't really think that he's a very high upside player. I'm not sure. This might be like what happened to the Chiefs last season with their 32nd pick. That it's not going to pan out too much, but it could. And that's somebody like Josh Newton out of TCU. Just going to go with that. I like the draft overall. I might bring these back like every other week to see like the different changes in the draft order and things like that. I think every week is a bit too frequent for there to be some sort of movement and some sort of change in these things. But Caleb Williams going to the Bears. Could happen. It definitely could happen. I wouldn't put it past them to give up on Justin Fields with the way that Tyson Bagnet, I think his name was, performed under that offense. Unless Justin Fields turns it around, I don't think that they're going to keep him. But Drake May to the Giants, I think, is going to be a consistent one for me. Fashanu, it's the Patriots. I would expect them to take an offensive tackle in the top 3, without a doubt in my mind. The Cardinals taking Marvin Harrison is like their dream scenario. It really is. Latu to the Bears. At edge, they just need help on that edge as much as possible. That's the best one available at that point, although older. Joe Alt to the Green Bay Packers. I mean, I like the drafts overall. Kool-Aid McKinstry could be their new type of Jalen Ramsey type of role that they had him doing everything. We'll have to see, though. I think my drafts are going to change more and more as the season goes on, along with learning more and more, because I just studied throughout the day on most of these players and just did the draft right now, but I want to learn more and more. I just haven't had the time to watch college football as much as I've wanted to. But hopefully this pans out. Usually, most of these mock drafts in general, not just me, they don't really come close to what actually happens. But I'm pretty confident in this one. I think it's going to be a good rookie class coming up this year in terms of QBs and a lot of positions that a lot of teams need. But if you did enjoy that, please go down there and like so more people can see it and we can get these mock drafts out more often. I'll study more and learn a lot more about these players and get into it a lot more so I can bring more quality to this mock draft field. I want to be able to learn about these prospects before they come into the league so I can know as much as possible. But in order to keep up with those mock drafts and me learning all this stuff as the season goes on, you have to go down there and subscribe so you don't miss out on the rest of the mock drafts of the year. And I might be bringing rebuilds back. Who knows? Who knows? It's basically probably going to be almost the same thing with these mock drafts. I'll be talking a lot about the prospects in those as well. But I will see you in the next video. Peace.